tell me, starting with Pam, your personal outlook for what 2017 is going to be like in this part of Montana.
Where's that little ball? Most of you in this room know me, so you know I'm the eternal optimist, right? He said to me earlier, he says, how do you talk about something flat? Opportunity, right? I actually really do believe in my gut, working with some folks here sitting in the audience, my partners here from Headwaters and Kristen and Karen and our mayor here. We have more deal flow than I think we've ever seen. There are so many things on our docket that we are working on, and they're so diverse. So I really do think 2017 is going to be a great year. I think we used 2017 to get our act together, and we got it together pretty good. So for me, and I also can tell you that it's kind of a diverse projects that we're seeing. They're not in one sector of the economy. So I'm really optimistic, really happy to see that the rest of you in this room are, you know, cautiously optimistic or pretty optimistic. Who are the pessimists? Seriously, I want to know who you are, because I want to talk to you and find out what we could do better to turn this stuff around. I'm actually really serious about that. So if some of you have a different view than I have, I don't want to change your mind. I just want to talk to you. So you can come up to me afterwards or email me. Everybody knows how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, we find that the pessimists don't want to raise their hands.
Okay.
Well, John, from your perspective here, I mean, large employer, very important part of Montana's economy, but really drilling down locally, what do you see?
So I've been doing this for quite a while, as many as you know, and there's a report for you. We can provide that again this year, but it really is kind of true what we've been seeing since about 2005 through 2015. When you look at the numbers, our population has changed by 16 people, according to the census estimates. And it's up, Pam, it is up.
And they're going to have babies.
It's coming. I guess, so when we kind of look at people, their jobs and the earnings kind of in the report that we look at for Southwest Montana, we try to break it out for each of your areas, your counties around us, and just try to provide data. And I think some of the interesting stuff you'll see in there is, our population is aging. I think it's statewide, but if you look at our counties in Southwest Montana, we're aging faster than the statewide average. The numbers over 65 are greater than the statewide average. The numbers 18 and less are under the statewide average for pretty much all of our communities. The people per household are less than the statewide average, again, having an older population base. And then I heard, I think it was Bryce earlier this morning, talking about your educated population. And we do have a good high school educated population, but those that have bachelor's degree or higher are less in our areas, which means, just like was talked earlier, we have some exporting of our kids. I have a son that's working in Pullman, Washington as an engineer for Schweitzer Engineering, a big, huge engineering firm over there. So there's, some trends we're seeing here. I think, like Pam talked about, jobs in our area. As you look through the report, you'll see unemployment looks great, but we actually saw employment declines in 2016. Again, golden sunlight, I know that hasn't been talked about today, but that has some impacts in our county and our areas. MSE, we've seen issues there on some of the engineering services side. So we've been, over the years, we've had ups and downs. We got a great, diverse, major employers that really sustain a lot of our areas. But again, we're looking forward to that next step. And I know these guys and everybody in this room work hard at that. I think the thing we need to find is, some industry, some that brings in younger people that have families, then that's where we grow off of. So, but we've been hanging in there, and we continue to hang in there. And I think it's with the diversity that we've built over the years.
So Mike,
good effort, Tom.
Mike, give us your perspective from a business that's, commodity business, dependent much on world markets and prices.
Sure.
What's your outlook?
So, I can speak to the copper and moly market. That's our business, molybdenum. A year ago, a pound of copper was worth $1.94, and the average for last year was $2.14 for a pound of copper. Moly was about $5.50. Today, copper is $2.65, so we're 50 cents up on a pound of copper from last year's average. If you make 70 million pounds of copper and you add 50 cents to that, you can do the math. So we're pretty happy. Moly is up $2 a pound, and we make about 9 million pounds of moly every year, so you can do the math on that pretty easy too. But it's a funny market, and I will say this. If you're looking for a stock tip, I have bought mining stock. I've been in the mining industry 26 years. My track record shows I buy high and I sell low. So don't listen to me for stock tips. It is a funny market because 6 months ago, they project copper prices, and we were looking at a change in the copper market to probably land in 2018, 2019 to see the supply and demand markets change. But all of a sudden, it went rapidly up the day after the election. It jumped 65 cents in one day. Now, is that false hope? I don't know. But we're happy. We're happy when the price goes up. We got some news today that came across the news waves that there's a mine called Escanita in Chile. It's the largest copper mine in the world. It produces 5% of the copper in the world. Is looking at a real serious potential of a long-term strike. Now that's a mixed emotion for us always. We hate to see people in trouble. But if 5% of the copper drops off, 5% of the copper drops off the market tomorrow, it's going up. So there's your tip, keep an eye on that one. So, prices are good for us in Butte right now. If we could stay in that 260 range and $7 moly, we would be very happy. We employ 355 people here in town. We are a profit-sharing business model. 10% of our profits go to our employees. So the more money the mine makes, the more money goes into the pockets of the employees, the more money gets spent in Butte. So it's a win-win when we see prices rise in Butte for the community. So we're hoping for the best.
So Mike, why don't you keep the mic and we'll go back the other direction. So the theme this year is this high-wage jobs puzzle. The creation of more jobs for more people that pay more money. In this community and in this part of Montana, where's that first piece of the puzzle? How do you start that? Do you have some thoughts, Mike?
I don't know if I can speak for this community, but I get on my pulpit a little bit. Natural resources provides high-paying jobs, and they provide a major tax base. And from the mining perspective, it appears there's been an attack on metal mining for 20 years in this state, if not longer. There are 3 underground mines in the state of Montana, one of them being Rock Creek, that has been in the permit process for 30 years. 30 years. It's been explored, developed. There's a great resource up there. It's up in Libby, depressed area, but it's bound up in regulatory permitting process. Over the hillside is Mountain Ore. They've been in the permitting process for 25 years. And then the latest one is the Tentina Black Butte project out in White Sulphur Springs. Drive around some towns, stop the Smith River Mine. And I don't know. To me, it seems like we have some resources. There are underground operations. There's very little impact. And there's a groundswell to not allow these natural resources projects to move forward. And I know I'm getting on my podium a little bit, but the Smith River Mine is a scare tactic. It's a mob mentality. We all know who Stillwater Mining Company is. They're the largest Montana employer in the state of Montana. And the Stillwater Mine literally sits on top, and they mine under the Stillwater River. You can hit a golf ball from their massive milling process into the river. The East Boulder Mine, which is also owned by Stillwater, you look at the river as you enter the gate. Has anybody heard of impacts to those rivers from that mine? And those are older mines. We have new technology today, so I just kind of plead for people in the state not to be closed-minded. Natural resources brings a lot of economic benefit to our state.
Mike, would you say that state government, federal policy, that's going to play a major role in getting that first piece together?
I think so. And we did see, some laws enacted, and even mining people. I mean, you want to drill next to Yellowstone Park? Come on. Nobody, even the mining industry, knows that's going to fly. So we did see some laws enacted to say, look, put a 30,000 acre boundary around it. Don't let it happen. We get it. But hopefully there's a change in those permit processes that help them progress forward. And I guess that's state.
All right, well, let's go to John. You've watched the Montana economy for a long time. Is there a first piece or a first player that has to get things started to create more in the way of high-paying jobs?
That's a difficult question, I think. I know from our areas as well, like Mike was just mentioning, that goods producing industries pay more, and mining is our highest paying industry in our area. Manufacturing's up there. Having Northwestern Energy and the utility presence here helps a lot. Montana Tech, of course, but again, it's supply and demand in markets, right? And so attracting new business supports the lower paying industries, the retail trade, and the service industries, and so I think it's a goal, that what's our blueprint, where are we heading, and what are we really trying to get to, right?
Let me just have you keep the mic for a moment. Existing business versus entrepreneurs and new business. I mean, we've seen in every market, every audience has looked to the high-tech and entrepreneur area as the place where that's where the growth in jobs is going to come. From your seat, again, just as a long-time observer, is there going to be new people coming in with new ideas, or do you expect that there'll be enterprise and innovation from existing businesses that will be the more important of the two?
It's another good question. I would think that it has to come from influx and new. I think we have facilities in Butte. I think we have infrastructure in Butte that can support it. I think there are areas outside of Montana that are looking to relocate. You look in the California areas, there's people that want out of there that are the entrepreneurs that can bring those high-tech, better-paying jobs to our area. You can do that kind of work from anywhere, right? So I think that's probably what we'll be looking towards. I kind of hope, but I think that's where we may end up.
Well, let's have Pam answer this question about that. The first piece of the puzzle. You're looking from your chair, I presume, at all the different elements and all the different factors, but where do you see the first step coming?
Or higher.
For more high-wage jobs. Statewide, this community, name your scope.
I think there's a whole bunch of steps that we have to do. We have to have all kinds of ingredients in our cake. But I think, I think we need to have, here for Butte and for the state, I think we have to have policies in place that make it easy to do business. That doesn't mean we have to throw out a bunch of regulations, but I think we really have to take a look at how these businesses operate, how they need to operate, what's keeping them from operating well. So that's a way to recruit new people, right? So we need some good policies. I'm not saying we don't have, but I think we can take a look at what we have and maybe refine them. And I kind of sound like somebody who was on the TV the other day, so it scares the shit out of me. I sound like this guy. Sorry. A little bit more down the middle of the road here. So I think as a community here, we need to look at some of those things. I think we need to grow our own. I think we need to start educating and doing some workforce things. Ron is one of our partners in the back, getting into the schools, talking to these individuals about the opportunities that are here. I think we need to work with our university on the hill up there. They graduate so many smart people from that university, but they're leaving town. we can help them start a business here if they want to start a business here. We have all the programs and incentives and the ability to do that. So I'd love to have that conversation up there. I think that we need to take a look at these folks who are retiring. My husband really wants to retire, and my kids don't want our business. So we have to take a look at those folks and have a conversation with them and work with Julie in the back about transitioning those people who want to retire, who have these amazing companies here, manufacturing, fabricating, doing all these things, hiring lots of people, paying good wages. And how do we get and recruit these young professionals here to step into those companies and be mentored by these individuals? That's something that we're talking about. And I was writing a few other notes down here. I think we need to look at, we have a 2 gigabit fiber ring around this town. That's the biggest damn thing that anybody has in the state. And we're not using it right. We're not doing it right. And that really creates some high-paying jobs. So from maybe some policy perspectives, we got to look at some of that stuff. And then we got to make sure this mine gets their permit. That's really, really important. And so there's all kinds of things in this bowl that we're churning around and mixing around. We have great partners in this room that we're working with every single day to do these things. It's not just one thing, it's a lot of things. But I think we're working on it. And by the way, they're finding us. Bozeman and Missoula and San Francisco, we're getting calls all the time. It's too expensive for those people to work there. They want to be here. And when I get to policies and I talk about incentives and things like that, those are the things that Butte can do best. We've done it best than anybody else. So that's where I think we also have a real opportunity here is be creative, embrace these folks who want to come in here, find them a spot, and help them create their new jobs as well. That's a lot, sorry. There's just so much we got to do, and I think we can, and you're such a bummer over here. I'm only kidding.
I do want to do a quick follow-up
Okay.
with Pam, but also, if you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand. We will have a mic. Terry Johnson's got it in the back, so please raise your hand if you want to ask a question or make a comment. Agree, challenge. I think we got one right up here, Terry, second row. But let me ask, you mentioned Montana Tech. We also have Highlands College.
Absolutely, they
And
are.
what role does that two-year institution play?
Huge role. Number one, they're very nimble. I know that they're doing some things for Ron and the folks at CCAST and at MMP. Their students aren't your, what do we call, help me out, Don, non-traditional students mostly at Highlands. Those are mature individuals who are innovative and they can build anything at that place and do anything. That college we at the Butte Local Development Corporation understand the huge value of that as well. So they play a big role. And the fact that they're so nimble and the fact that Don and his team can work with us quickly and within a few months come up with a program that we need to help someone train great people for their jobs, that's very important. And I forgot to mention that, Don. Thank you.
So here's a question or a comment.
My question would be, for example, in Utah, which has a big outdoor recreation presence, of course they're having problems down there because people in that state don't hold their public lands in the esteem that we do here. So are there efforts to reach, these people are threatening to leave the state down there over this. And so are there efforts at outreach to these companies, or how does that work as a practical matter?
So funny you should mention that. Our partners at Headwaters and us at the Local Development Corporation are looking at that. I don't want this to be on the front page of the newspaper because I'm highly competitive. I don't want somebody else out there doing what we're looking at doing. But we think that's a big opportunity, a whole new cluster that we can create. And what we would like to see out of that is to find some of those individuals. They all got contacts. See what we can manufacture here, or see what we can have happen here, whether it's in the manufacturing, and try to recruit them here. They can do it better here than they can do it anywhere. And they can still recreate and still get to Utah if they want to. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something that we're embarking on. It's actually not my idea. It's Joe Willer's hours idea. He's the executive director of Headwaters. He's also a professional fly fishing guide. So thanks, Joe.
So again, if you have a question, comment, raise your hand. But why don't you hand the mic to John? I want to have John and Mike address this. Pam, you mentioned quite a few things that if you were to say, that if you were to say, we think you should come to Butte because we're proud of blank. You named some of them. Now, we just heard about the natural environment and the ability for outdoor recreation. But John, in your mind, Butte's a great place for business, and Butte's a great place for you to come live and work because of what?
The people. I just think the people and the workforce that we have, and the dedication to this area is amazing. I love how excited Pam gets when she talks. I'm not that guy. I'm fun. But no, it is the people and I just think how everybody comes together. We've had so many ups and downs in this community over my lifetime, through the 80s and building back and then dropping again. And just the ups and downs that these areas have gone through, but it's just the will of the people in these areas and the major employers, everybody's kind of pushing the same direction. Everybody tries hard and we get to where we need to be. So that's where I go. Yeah.
Mike, how about from your perspective, from your employees, what do they love about here?
We're a hometown group of employees. Okay, we'll include Anaconda. But that's our workforce is your Butte neighbors, and we don't get a lot of turnover because for a blue collar job, it's a good job in town, and we usually stay around a 5% attrition rate. That includes retirees. So once people come, we have decades of ore reserves in front of us. So when we hire a guy that's 25 years old, we can tell him for sure you're here till 55, what we know, maybe 65, and we don't know what goes beyond that. So, how long will we last? I don't know. I was quoted, this was brilliant on my part. The newspaper lady said, will it be mining forever in Butte? And I said, well, eternity is a long time. And that's smart, isn't it? I think there's a lot of promise for the future, at least in that side of the industry. My hat's off to Mr. Hewland. He's pushing forward to create new industry. I wish the very best to REC. I wish we had 3 of those, in the outskirts of Butte. Those type of jobs that the more we can get in Butte, the better we are.
Questions from the audience? Comments? Cheers? Oh, right there.
I don't want to put a damper on this, but we are a great community. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's the people here that make the difference. I've heard this time and time and time again about that. We preach that, and like I said, I believe it. But the fact of the matter is, if we have that mentality, we have this enthusiasm behind it, yet we're not growing like Bozeman. We're not growing like Missoula. We're behind Kalamazoo. We're behind Great Falls. We're behind everybody. What's not working? Why? If we have all of this potential, what's not working? Why aren't they coming here like we're seeing in the other communities?
Who wants to take that first? By default, it's to Pam.
We're great citizens, yet it's not happening.
You're right.
Yeah, what do you need more than can-do spirit is another way to ask that, but what are the challenges?
I think it's perception. I think it's what's happened to us with regard to Superfund. I think it's that kind of thing. And what we're trying to do, and I think we are doing it, is we're changing the dialogue. We're flipping that dialogue. We got the cleanest water in the nation in Butte Silver Bowl. $32 million invested in our water. It's cleaner than anyone in Montana. I want you to tell everybody that. We have the best air in the nation, right? You know, we've got wonderful, we can have a creek that goes all over the place. We've got more trails than anywhere. Our kids are smarter than anywhere. So here's what it is. It's perception. And a lot of it is, yeah, I mean, you know, how you guys have been out in Montana. Oh, you're from Butte. You know, you guys are, there's a t-shirt out there that says tough or something like that. That's also perception. We're about the kindest, nicest place we are. And so what I think we need to do is tell ourselves and your friends and your neighbors, and then those folks in Bozeman and Billings and Missoula, that this is a really great place to be. We know it because we live here. But I do believe it's been perception. Now, we've had some ups and downs. We've had the mine close and open. These guys are great right here. They're going to keep that place open. So I honest to God, I've been doing this a long, long time, and I've been all over this state. I was in Missoula the other day, and I can tell you a real true story. I met with a guy in Missoula who isn't getting any attention from over there. And I happen to know his dad, who said, will you meet with him? I was over there. So I sat down with this young man. He wants to start a brewery. I said, why are you thinking about doing it in Missoula? It's going to cost you $2 million. Come to Butte. We can get this thing going. It's going to cost you a quarter of what it's going to cost. You can be that much more successful, and you're not going to be lost in the fray. And he goes, I can't brew beer in Butte because the water is dirty. Right? So we need to change that perception. A lot of it is that. And we need to market ourselves better, and Kristen and Karen and the folks at Headwaters are helping us do that. We got to stop beating up on each other. We got to start promoting each other. Get on the phone. You probably have friends who don't live here. Have you ever thought about moving to Butte? There's a team here that's willing to help them and do it and get it done right. Now, that's easy to say, but then we got to have some targeted things and things that we're working on. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I personally believe that no other place is as unique as Butte. We're a little bit behind on the high-tech scene. We're getting there. But to be honest with you, I truly believe it was perception.
So we're almost to the top of the hour, but John and Mike, final thoughts?
It's your turn, Joe.
I have nothing to add after that.
It's okay if you just want to say amen. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Amen.
Well then, we are at the top of the hour. We want to get you back to your businesses and your work lives and your own lives. So thank our panelists for being part of this. And thank you for your attendance, for your attention. The Bureau thanks you. Please enjoy the rest of your day and travel safely, however far you're traveling. Thank you.